300 home runs. Let that number sit for a moment. 300 home runs from a man who also pitches at an elite level in the major leagues. 300 home runs from a player who is simultaneously one of the most dominant starting pitchers in the National League this season. 300 home runs from the most extraordinary athlete that professional baseball has ever produced. When Ohtani's 300th home run left his bat and cleared the fence, the entire baseball world stopped simultaneously because everyone watching understood in that instant that they were witnessing a moment that belongs not just to the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers but to the history of the sport itself. And what happened next was something that none of the cameras in that stadium were fully prepared to capture. His teammates had planned something. They had coordinated. They had organized a surprise in the middle of one of the most spontaneous and most electric moments of the entire season. They brought out a gift for Ohtani that stopped him completely in his tracks. And then Ohtani did something that nobody in that clubhouse had anticipated. He stood up and he spoke. In Japanese? For 10 minutes. 10 minutes of words that flowed from a place so deep and so genuine that every person in that room who understood what he was saying was visibly moved. And then two of the most legendary figures in Japanese baseball history, Ichiro Suzuki and Hideki Matsui, offered comments about this moment that have stunned the baseball world with their power and their depth. What was your immediate reaction when you saw Ohtani hit that 300th home run and then watched what happened in the celebration that followed? The number itself is extraordinary enough. 300 home runs is a milestone that places Ohtani in a conversation about the greatest offensive players in the history of professional baseball. But the context surrounding this particular milestone is what makes it genuinely unprecedented. We are talking about a player who is achieving this number while simultaneously carrying one of the most elite pitching performances of the entire season on the other side of his two-way contribution to this team. No player in the history of this sport has accumulated 300 home runs while also functioning as a legitimate ace-caliber starting pitcher. The number 300 belongs to hitters. To designated hitters. To players who have devoted their entire professional existence to the single pursuit of hitting baseballs over fences. Ohtani is doing it while also throwing 99-mile-per-hour fastballs and sweepers that break so sharply that opposing hitters describe the experience of facing him as genuinely exhausting. That is the context in which 300 needs to be understood. Let's talk about the surprise gift from his teammates because this moment reveals something genuinely beautiful about the culture that has been built inside the Los Angeles Dodgers clubhouse this season. Baseball teams spend 162 games together. They travel together, they eat together, they sit in the same dugout for 3 hours every single day of a season that stretches from April through October. But genuine moments of spontaneous collective affection between professional athletes are rarer than the outside world might imagine. For Ohtani's teammates to have planned and coordinated a surprise gift for the 300th home run milestone tells you that this team has been paying attention. They knew this moment was coming. They thought about what it meant. And they decided as a group that it deserved to be marked with something personal, and something meaningful rather than simply letting it pass as another impressive number in a season already full of them. The gift they presented to Ohtani in that celebration is a physical symbol of the respect and the affection that this roster has developed for the most extraordinary player any of them have ever shared a clubhouse with. From a human perspective, what does it mean for Ohtani to have reached this milestone in front of his teammates? And to have received that kind of collective recognition from the people who compete alongside him every single day. This is the dimension of the story that statistics cannot capture, and that box scores will never reflect. Ohtani has carried an enormous weight throughout his career. He has been the subject of constant scrutiny and constant analysis, and constant debate about what he is, and what he represents, and whether what he is doing is truly sustainable. Every game he pitches and every at-bat he takes comes with the accumulated pressure of every expectation that has been placed on him since the day he first arrived in Major League Baseball as a player who dared to attempt something that the sport said could not be done. When his teammates surprised him with that gift in the aftermath of his 300th home run, they were giving him something that goes beyond the gift itself. They were giving him a moment of pure recognition from the people who know better than anyone else exactly how hard he works for every single one of those 300 home runs. Now let's get to Ohtani's speech. 10 minutes in Japanese. That duration and that language choice are both significant, and both deserve careful examination. 10 minutes is a long time for any athlete to speak in the immediate aftermath of a celebratory moment. Most players in that situation offer 30 seconds of genuine emotion and then step back to let the celebration continue around them. Ohtani chose to speak for 10 minutes. That choice tells you that what he had to say could not be compressed. It tells you that the emotions and the thoughts and the reflections that this milestone produced in him were extensive and layered and deserving of the full time it took to express them. And the choice to speak in Japanese in front of a mostly English-speaking room tells you that what he was saying came from the deepest and most personal part of who he is. Japanese is where Ohtani's innermost self lives. It is the language of his childhood and his dreams and his earliest memories of falling in love with this sport. For this milestone he chose to speak from that place without translation and without compromise. What did Ohtani's 10-minute speech in Japanese communicate to his teammates who may not have understood every word but who were nonetheless present for every moment of it? Language is only one channel of communication. Presence is another. Emotion is another. The way a person stands when they speak from a place of genuine feeling is another. Every player in that room who watched Ohtani deliver those 10 minutes understood something essential about what they were witnessing, even if the specific words were beyond their comprehension. They understood that their teammate was moved. They understood that this moment meant something to him that went far beyond the home run count. They understood that he was sharing something real and something private with them in the most public setting of his professional life. And that understanding, that shared human recognition across the barrier of language, is something that bonds people together in ways that translated speeches never quite managed to achieve. Now let's talk about Ichiro and Matsui. Because the comments from these two legends about Ohtani's 300th home run milestone are not simply notable praise from two famous former players. They are statements from the two greatest Japanese position players in the history of Major League Baseball about the man who has now surpassed everything they individually accomplished while simultaneously doing something that neither of them ever attempted. Ichiro revolutionized how the baseball world understood what a Japanese position player could be in the major leagues. Matsui brought power and consistency to the Yankees for a decade and became a World Series hero. Both of them blazed trails that made it easier for every Japanese player who followed them. And now both of them are watching Ohtani do something that they could not have fully imagined even in their most ambitious moments as competitors. The stunning nature of their comments reflects genuine awe from two men who are not easily awed. 300 home runs. A 10-minute speech in Japanese. A surprise gift from teammates who planned for a moment they knew was coming. And stunning comments from Ichiro and Matsui that the baseball world will be discussing for years. Everything that happened in the immediate aftermath of Ohtani's 300th home run is a reminder that what we are watching this season is not just an athlete performing at an elite level. It is a human being achieving something genuinely unprecedented while carrying the weight of an entire nation's baseball legacy, and the expectations of every fan who has ever dared to believe that the impossible is sometimes worth attempting. 300 home runs. The speech was 10 minutes. The moment was forever.